Welcome home, love beings. My name is Melissa Brace, and I will be your super groovy, channeling, multidimensional cosmic tour guide today. Thank you all so much for being here. We are going to do a channeling and an energy, multidimensional energy update with Geronimo. So I will welcome Geronimo's energy in, and we'll kind of get started here. He's saying, remember the history of the world, and he's sort of saying greetings like this. Because you know that super poker face that he has in the pictures, he's still got that. His frequency is very strong and wise and knowing. And in case you don't know, Geronimo, of course, we've all heard of Geronimo. But do we know the details? We weren't there, so we don't know all of the details. But in his lifetime, there were some pieces like perhaps tumultuous war times, misuses of power, and imbalances in the energies. And he seemed to outrun and outlive what anyone ever could. And he eventually ended up surrendering to the United States Army in, I can't remember what year, I'm so sorry. But he's saying it was, he evaded capture, he evaded death a lot in his lifetime. And he says he was born in the Chiricahua Mountain areas in his tribe, and he was also a medicine person, so had the shamanic path in many ways and the warrior path in many ways. And he says the energies were very peaceful as he could naturally, in his own ways, connected with God and the earth and the surroundings, the earth energies, as well as the sky and the stars. And he says, so as we open our eyes to the clearing that's going on in the energies around us, we are peeling away some of the deepest, heaviest war mentalities and frequencies that were embedded into humanity all throughout history. And as a young man, he was married and had some children, and the Mexican soldiers that were close, they had some skirmishes and wars going on, disagreements with he became the Apache chief leaders. So the Mexican soldiers and the Apache groupings were a little pissed at each other. And the Mexican army came in and murdered his wife, his children, and many of his people, his community. So, of course, just as any of us have gone through very hard things that broke us down, that had that fear, war, misuse of power, energy in it, that he said it pretty much broke him. And he allegedly burned down his house that he had with his wife and children, and burned all the belongings and went to avenge the deaths of his family and friends and loved ones, his community. So they say he pulled it off pretty strongly, and he became more feared in the different groupings. However, as just like in our lives, it's not just one person or one group that hates you enough to harm you and have war, threat, fear, misuse of power, little psychopathic vibe going on, because we've all had a few of those little narcissistic energies that we know are being unstitched and pulled out of us, and like our whole existence, humanity, our reality. And it hurts, it's backwards, it's like in reverse. So he's saying it's a little bit like, you remember the video of the bullet going through the apple, and it blew into billions of bits, right? Sprayed out into billions of bits, and then they reversed it, and you could see the bullet going backwards, and all the spray of fragments of this apple going back in. And then you realize it was imprinted in humanity, in our minds forever. It was kind of an interesting, amazing video. But this is what's going on in the frequencies and the energy structures around us, the architecture of the energies, and war, which could entail many layers of many things. He's saying hatred, rage, bullying, threats, war, murder, abuses, rape, illness like cancer, or illnesses that we know have like waged wars in our mind, body, spirit, soul systems, and came out in our physical bodies and loved ones' physical bodies. And he's saying, so war in many layers, the narcissistic misuses of power are being unstitched out of humanity, and it's going in reverse. so it might hurt. So he's saying throughout his life, after his family was murdered, as a young man, he continued and became, kind of like an avenger angel, and rose up and was a respected but also feared leader and warrior. And to survive, he had to have that role. He's saying, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying I had to have that role. So then there was some skirmish with the Comanche nation. So we got Apache and Comanche, very close surrounding lands and tribes and home bases. And he's saying, ironic how now the Comanche Apache nations are pulled together after it's almost like the United States, he's saying the white man came in and eventually, took their free will and power, hit after hit after hit, and owned the Native Americans, the Indian nations, and moved them, displaced them, murdered them in different ways. And he's saying, I'm not saying we weren't fierce and we didn't have some imbalances of our own, but there were several different predators in his life that caused war. So we got the Mexican armies, and then Comanche, and then eventually for many, many years, the European backgrounds came in and said, oh, well, we're going to tell you who to be and that we own you and change you and hurt you and hunt you down. And it was, he said, the war and the suffering, as well as the pain, the suffering, the murders, the betrayals, it causes one to be shut down, closes our hearts, shuts us down. And as we know and can see, any type of predator, abuser, sexual abuse, abusive person, narcissist, they only try to dim your light and shut you down, smash you down. And they can come in many ways. So war, the different groups of types of people can come in many ways. So what ways have you perhaps not had as much severity as Geronimo, he's saying, but in your own right, could you have had abusive partners or children, parents, narcissism in your family? Did you have to go to work with the people lying and cheating and stealing and pointing at you and judging you falsely at work for 15 years? Or things that break us and we have to stand up again and break us down and cause us to have these energetic walls and cords, attachments, and all of us have distortion, is what he's saying. These pieces are being cleansed and cleared and removed in layer after layer after layer after layer. And he said in his lifetime, he had these different opponents, and so have you in different ways. So we don't quite maybe have bows and arrows and guns and public hangings anymore. And we hopefully don't have prejudices about those kind of people over there, like that there's some kind of differences between us just because we grew up differently or have different language or possibly different tints of skin or orientations of some kind. And he says those pieces are part of the war mentality that was superimposed upon humanity, so much that became our normal. So he's saying this is a gift, this is a blessing, and you can feel it in many of the starseeds, the spiritual path people and heart-centered people know that that darkness is being ripped out of us. Not that we were dark people, but it's imprinted in all of our human systems as distorted darkness. And we can see it in our communities and the big world systems and bigger pictures and different angles of this world in different ways. The predators, the war mentalities, and the light workers have been targeted some of the most heavily and are the actual real warriors, gentle, benevolent, divine warriors that came here to unplug that darkness. Just like, it's a little bit strange to say, but just like when Jesus was killed, crucified, and he went down into the depths of the darkness, ripping the veil for us to hopefully finally wake up someday, and also unplugged a piece of the devil, the darkness. And he's Geronimo is, of course, not as animated as I am, but he's saying, see, we've all been through it in some way, and we don't know what our neighbors, friends, family, loved ones actually experienced in this lifetime or many others as we continue to cleanse and clear the shadow in us. It's such a beautiful thing. And he's saying all the light workers, warriors, empaths, heart-centered people that stayed in their own lane to the best of their abilities and did not judge, persecute, wage war back on the people that waged war upon them, that lied behind their back, that pretended to be friends and tried to steal their business, their hearts, their light, their stories. And he says, but we all have stories that are being cleansed and cleared and erased. Not that our truth is erased, but the heaviness, the attachments, the war shadows and imprints in us, the wounds are being erased and cleansed from humanity's architectural engineering of the energies and frequencies of who we are by the strongest, most beautiful, amazing light warriors that were also pointed at, like Geronimo was, because remember, the white man came right in and said, oh, we don't like Native American, we don't like Indian people. We don't like them. So we're going to make them change. And of course, they were the indigenous, true residents of these places. And, I grew up at the end of the Trail of Tears and displaced human beings because of these wars that have continued throughout history, whether it's been the Romans, the Pharisees, the white men, the North, the South, and any group that we have ever been in has been in war and imbalance somehow. And there's been distortion in each one of us somehow. And he's saying the healing of this consciousness in many layers and frequencies is going on. It's such an amazing thing. And he's saying thank you to the light workers because, just you can't hate somebody because they seem to have a tan more than you do. I'm kind of jealous of that, really. Yeah. And he says, we are hopefully, many of us are away from being judgmental about any group of people, and we have removed ourselves from any need for definitions of them and those people. And that stretches out the consciousness so that this war mentality and misuse of power, and ultimately, we probably right now in our time period would call it the predator narcissist programming that was so deeply abusing us over so many lifetimes and years. And he's saying, so it's a beautiful thing. And good job, warrior. He honors the light warrior in you. And he says, expect that heart to open more and become free, and more free as the days and weeks go on, as the deepest wound that has ever been, like the original sin, the original trauma of separation from God's source, creator, whatever words we use, is being healed and stitched up. It's very painful, just like we were talking about when the reverse, when we saw the bullet go through the apple in reverse and all be put back together. But imagine how many fragmented pieces, fibers were sprayed out of that apple. And so if you can imagine all of the consciousness of humanity and everyone who has ever lived, imagine the fragments in the spray that have been broken in each one of us and all who have ever lived. And he's saying, I don't want to dwell on that, but to show the picture of how the energy works. I wanted to tell that story and acknowledge that each one of you have been through heavy war, hurt, pain, and losses and griefs that are part of your original trauma wound of separation from source light, the light of the universe. And it kept being cut off and blocked from us in lifetime after lifetime and circumstance after circumstance. And he's saying, I'm just more well known than you all are. And I just had an interesting go of it as he continued to evade certain death and capture many times. And he says, in the end, I unweaved and weaved with source. Even though he was a fierce warrior, he had to kill some people to survive in his day and life story. He's saying, I am not advocating that. I'm just saying we're unwinding that mentality so that anyone has to live like this, and anyone has to lose their children, that anyone has to lose their wife or husband to violence, hatred, war types of frequencies. They're really dense, and I don't really like to use the word frequencies, but that's the only way I know how to say it right now. So imagine the immense spray and fiber out of the apple the bullet went through, and we can watch it be put back together in that reverse video that we've all seen and go, wow, that's what each one of us are doing as we continue to have soul retrievals. It's almost like surgery to put us back into place, the fragmented pieces of humanity's consciousness. He's saying it's a beautiful thing, and it's big. And again, perhaps in our day, which is not that far past Geronimo's day, we might call it the narcissist predator energy that has just been coming after us, the darker energies, the seen and the unseen, and through other people and circumstances and systems. And he's saying those things are being unstitched, and that's why there's tumultuousness in the atmosphere. And it seems that many people are going against each other, and they're different, like just like in his day. He's saying there's the North and the South, and the Comanches, the different tribes, and the different belief systems, and the Mexico border where they were arguing and fighting. And he's saying, whatever those things to you are, remember that we're not that different and we're not that separate as we heal the original separation from source God wound in all of humanity. And he's saying it's beautiful. So he's saying, in spirit, he was reunited with his family members, as well as his knowledge and his ability to become free out of the bondage and the enslavement that the different groups of groups of humanity that came against Geronimo took, smashed, distorted. And he's saying you will also walk this walk and realize that we are one. So your brothers and sisters that you really don't like, that's okay. But stay in your own lane. Keep your bows and arrows to yourself. He's saying that the healing is going on, and it's really big. I'm going to pull a couple of cards, and I know that's funny. The way this is coming out is funny to me, but he's saying we're healing the original wounds of separation and suffering. So I'm pulling a couple of cards, and got my old school looking cool cards. You can imagine the Old West looking like, right? So what I'm seeing is the 5 of coins in reverse. I don't usually read reverse cards, and I don't usually read tarot cards. I've always been so visual, I just didn't ever need to. But this is poignant because we're coming out of this. The 5 of coins is one of the worst cards you can get. It's heavy, everyone's broken, and on the card you can see they're wounded people. Look at this. They're wounded, outside. They don't have any resources, and in a reverse state, that's being undone by the hand of God for us and helping us have almost like surgery to heal us and make us whole so we can choose to continue to uplift and live in our daily lives and consciousness as a whole, as a humanity. And the second card I got is the Sun, which is one of the best cards. Look, he's all naked on his horse. Wonder if maybe in Geronimo's time that they had their horses and had their kids on the horses. They were naked and half naked in the sun. So I can tell you, Arizona, this is the hottest week so far at least for Sedona. At least I've been out in it a lot today. And it gets kind of hot. But it's really good because imagine all these streams of light coming in, and the streams of light are coming in, and the scientists know, the spiritual people know, the light of God is streaming into us, and it's balancing that red chakra, which we have red rocks here in Sedona, and focus on the lower chakras, energies, stabilizing, balance, creativity, root chakra energy all the way through, all the way up, and there's a celebration going on, and it's beautiful. He's saying, remember, undoing the heaviest, darkest wounds and thickening of the heart and the walls that we have around us so that we can be free And I mean free in our minds, body, spirit, souls, in our daily lives more and more. And he's like, yep, that's what we all wanted. It's ironic. Yeah, this is so cool. So we're going through our death and rebirth. I've got the death card, which does not always mean physical death, but if any groups or people hated you enough to want you dead, to go against you, to point at you, saying you were the dark one, and you didn't even know what they were saying, calling you names behind your back, ruining you, this is being unwound and unstitched. Everything done in the dark and everything done boldly that has harmed another is being unstitched. So I wouldn't look. If you have anger, rage, resentment, things that we have all had and all carried, we didn't look in those directions right now because it's being unstitched and balanced. Then I've got the Two of Coins, Two of Pentacles, where we've been imbalanced. That's what Geronimo's saying. We've been imbalanced, but we've also been choosing, how do I become free? And so every day we've been working on it, and it feels like our footing's a little bit off. And sometimes people use this card as like choosing directions or paths, or even people like, do I like so better than so-and-so? And should I go sit by them instead of them? This imbalance will also be presented to us as we don't own people, choose people, and get to judge people, nor do they us. And so the imbalance in our footing and our foundations are being smoothed out, and we become back to nature, back to wholeness. And you can expect what he's saying is we would listen to the earth elements, we would hear the earth. And Navajo Nation, strong, fierce, awesome. But imagine them like in the old movies where they could track anything and they could live off the land and listen to the earth. And he says, so wake up, because you can hear the magic, the truth of the earth speaking to you, that divinity speaking to you. And those of you who like the blue path as well, that would be the skies, the celestial, the heavens, pulling back in divine order so that you can see, hear, feel, know, taste, experience the balance of that heaven and earth balance as we heal this deepest wound of separation that's ever been. Got Three of Coins, and to me it feels like there's a little bit of that energy where we're unsure who to trust but it feels like some of the people coming together, soul tribe. So, we always call the Native American tribes, which is wise, wisdom, knowledge. That's unfolding in us, our wisdom, knowledge, truth that has been forgotten or squished or blocked or blinded from us. And I'm seeing us come back into collaboration in many layers, in many ways, how to help us heal each other, ourselves and each other, as well as this earth, and bring it back into harmony in different ways. And he's saying, I think he died in 1909, and he kept saying he was going to surrender, and then he would evade the United States Army. He made a mockery of the U.S. He said, well, they called me names all the time. They didn't know me. He did what he had to do. And no longer will we have to live in survival mode and do what we had to do to make it out of the cult, to make it out of the grasps of abusive people's range on us, or the wrong path, the non-destined path that we were on. It took a lot to get us out of that. So he said, well, it took a lot to get me to stay alive and be a character, a teacher for history. I send blessings to you all as the balance of heaven and earth and all of you is occurring, whether you like it or not. And it hurts, it's scary and not easy in some phases and ways for some people. And he says, and that's okay. Just know you are supported. The light, which he perhaps would call Great Spirit. I don't know exactly what he's saying, but that true love, God, source, Great Spirit, has got your back. And he says, now we will see some of the new beginnings and the prophecies come to pass. So I've got Nine of Coins for humanity. This is the collective. And the Queen of Wands. And we're coming back into our passions and recognition of ourselves and out of pain, self-hatred, confusion, types of things, and strength. And he says, it's been the divine plan. You are coming into your spiritual wealth and richness, and be yourself, even if someone thinks you're ugly or bad or stupid or too much, not enough. and that they have pushed you out and persecuted you, because you do belong in your true soul tribe with true friends, with true family, with true people. And we will be seeing that in the days to come. Be your true wealthy self. No longer will your heart be pierced by arrows that are coming at you unseen, that were unexpected. That's part of the separation of the darkness held us in that separation and bondage, imprisoned in the lower matrix. And we're coming out of that with, we're going to flip some people off in the rear view mirror again. It's awesome. So I got one more card to pull. 2 came out. We got King of Wands. So that would be the masculine, feminine, balancing, equal, yin yang, sacred union inside. I've got the 5 of Cups. No more will the false, delusional weirdos that try to hurt us or drag you into their energy, like try to. And we have grieved and been quiet as we were supposed to, and healed. And as we do that, it brings us back into the masculine, feminine balance and truth of who we are. And it's like passionate. This is this red root energy as well. Fire, earth, air, fire, water. And he says this balance of the sacred union in each one of you and humanity that's coming closer and closer together is going to lead you to your North Node and the next new beginning part, and the next mission, the next purpose, and closer into love and balance and wholeness with your true tribe. I'm going to pull one more, even though I said one more a second ago. He said freedom. Keep holding freedom for each other. He says the ways of the old. So this is the Hierophant or the Pope, number 5. The Hierophant and the old rules are being unstitched. We've been seeing this for decades. Are being unstitched, and it's rewritten, like we're rewriting the movies, the scripts, the computer programs into wholeness and balance and divinity. And it's a beautiful thing, he says. It's a beautiful thing. He says we're just going to do it a little bit differently. We'll have all of our cultures and beliefs and truths in the writing of the new earth scripts and energetic architecture. Freedom. He's just saying, thank you. I'm honored to be a teacher and a frequency holder in this process as humanity continues to go through uplifting in frequency. He says, and just expect that forgiveness and freedom to push you right into heart opening and connecting with the cosmic heart, the earth heart, and bringing your awareness, wisdom, knowledge, truth, your true shamanic knowing and your true divine magic right back into balance. And he says, good going. Stay safe, treat each other well, and honor, respect one another, your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your children, and those people over there. Even if they can't and won't reciprocate that for you, because those people are going to be gone and scooted out and in a different, sort of a different reality and way and time, because they might not get it. And this awakening will continue for you. And he's congratulating the warriors and the shamans and the true light beings that came here to ascend and awaken this consciousness in us and bring it back to wholeness, because it was always meant to be. It was always the truth. So he's saying nothing and stepping back. And I say, thank you all. Thank you for sharing with me today. Hope this was fun. This July 2022 energy update was pretty cool. And he's saying there's so much unseen energy going on that goes into this, but we are healing some of the heaviest war, narcissistic predator imbalances that have ever been. And in that, it's the original initial depths of the separation, trauma, wound, suffering that humanity has been going through for tens of thousands of years. So thank you. And he's still doing this. Thanks for your likes, shares, and subscribes, and questions, inquiries, appointments. If you would like to make an appointment for a session, reading, channeling, past life, look into the history and energies and such, the information is in the box below. Thank you so much. And I send great love out to you and all throughout our timelines, and lots of peace. No more war. Peace. And I think Geronimo and the frequencies of the light that bring us truth and wisdom and keep us opening up our hearts and awakening to the knowledge and truth of what's true, real, pure, purifying light.